organically. We know, for example, that the critical social justice industry is worth about $9 billion in the US. It is very, very profitable. And when you're earning, say, $12,000 an hour to teach the employees of a multi-billion-dollar company how to dismantle their whiteness, you really can't claim to be opposing the establishment and the status quo and capitalism. You are a central part of it.
How do we counter the negative impact of critical race theory on our institutions of education, business, and government? I posed this question to Helen Pluckrose, the co-author of a book called Cynical Theories, which outlines some of the ideological underpinnings of this new social justice movement. What follows is a short extract from a longer conversation on my podcast, Solutions with David Ansara. If you would like to watch the full discussion with Helen Pluckrose, you can do so by clicking on the link in the description below. Enjoy. I often used to think that many of the young people who are adherents of these ideas, very kind of radical and filled with youthful exuberance, when they go into the workplace, they're going to be confronted with the hard realities of having to integrate with the workforce and to add value, and that corporate culture will have no patience with some of these ideas. But I think I was wrong on that. It seems that many corporates, through diversity and inclusion offices and various other programs, are now very enthusiastically implementing a lot of these programs within the workplace. Could you speak about some of the effects that this is having, and also what you and your organization Counterweight are trying to do to address some of these problems?
Yeah, certainly. When we finished writing Cynical Theories, this was before the death of George Floyd, the big escalation in anti-racist training, gender identity training. And, that Counterweight hadn't been formed at that point. But what we're seeing since then is a real sort of union of the critical social justice industry and corporatism. So I've been watching this happen. Some people, I think, take a bit too much of a conspiracy theory mindset to this. They act as though this was a plan between the social justice left and the ultra-capitalist right. But I think this has just happened organically. We know, for example, that the critical social justice industry is worth about $9 billion in the US. It is very, very profitable. And when you're earning, say, $12,000 an hour to teach the employees of a multi-billion-dollar company how to dismantle their whiteness, you really can't claim to be opposing the establishment and the status quo and capitalism. You are a central part of it. So this has been enabled, and I recommend anybody who wants, I don't agree with all of his solutions because he is quite conservative and I'm not, but Vivek Ramaswamy's Woke Inc. is a very good look into how this has happened, how corporatism and social justice have formed this symbiotic relationship. Enjoying this analysis? Click here to sign up for our 30-day free trial for more content from the CIA. But what we're actually seeing, particularly, we don't have very many South African clients, I have to admit. The majority are in the UK, with almost as many in the US, then Australia, Canada, Germany, France, and the Netherlands. That's where we have most of our people from. But what we're seeing essentially is white people being told to affirm that they are racist. They can't help being racist because they have been born into this society that teaches them that white people are superior. They're being asked to affirm that they're racist and to actually believe that they're racist. Now that's extremely worrying, because especially when it's taught to children, because children can very easily be taught to be racist if they're constantly told that they are. And there isn't much difference between convincing yourself that you do hold subconscious beliefs that Black people are inferior and actually believing that Black people are inferior. So what we're seeing is quite a lot of teaching people to be racist. I was particularly worried a set of teachers had this horrible training course in which an American trainer spoke about the need to make white people human again, and that it was virtuous to claim to be racist, and you could either admit that you were racist and commit to dismantling it, or deny that you're racist and be part of the problem. But either way, you were racist, and it was better to admit it. And after this, nearly 40% of the teachers in an anonymous survey said they were racist. And they weren't virtue signaling because they didn't know who they were, but they believed themselves by the end of this to believe Black and brown children to be inferior to white ones, which was not a belief that they'd ever shown any signs of holding before. So that's what really, really worries me. And a teacher at this school has called their bluff and said, if this is true, we need to shut this school down. We can't have children of various races here if, this percentage of the teaching staff are racist. It's not going to work. But we see this is what white people are specifically told. For Black people, it's often worse. They are told that they believe everything that Ibram X. Kendi believes, including those of them who aren't American, and that they all hold these critical social justice ideas. These ideas are being put out there as representative of Black values, views, and experiences. And if they try to say, no, actually, I have a different value system, I'm a liberal, a libertarian, a Marxist, a conservative, a Christian, a Muslim, then they are told, no, you're not, you have to believe in this. So we have had a significant number of people. One of our clients has resigned from a prestigious job where he was a senior engineer because he just couldn't get them to stop racializing him and claiming these ideas to be representative of Black people. He went for a smaller job where he's going to have less prospects, but isn't going to be racialized. Other people have come to us asking for a set of affirmations. I will not be racialized. I will not be expected to believe certain things just because I am Black, or expected to believe that white people believe certain things just because they are white. We've had a Muslim woman who failed her test on Islam and women, Islamic attitudes to women, by saying they weren't great. She has to retake it until she says they are great. So this is the problem and the difference that is really not often seen. These critical theories of race, which aren't quite the same thing as critical race theory, but evolved from it. They speak at white people, but for Black people. And so this creates different kinds of problems. In both cases, people are being told how they think and feel because of the colour of their skin, which is racial essentialism and wrong. But I think from what I'm seeing that this is actually more presumptuous when experienced by Black and brown people than it is when experienced by white people, because white people aren't being told what they believe and what their experiences are to the same extent.
And it also infantilizes Black people, that they're just perpetual victims. You need somebody else, typically a white person, to stand up and address their victimhood. It valorizes victimhood. It gives cultural and moral cachet to people to be victims, and then incentivizes them to position themselves as victims.
Yeah, this goes down particularly badly with people who, I don't know if you've read The Rise of Victimhood Culture, but that looks at honor culture as the one that came before dignity culture. So honor culture has the same sensitivity to slights, but it responds angrily to them, whereas victimhood culture has a sensitivity to slights, but it claims status in them. So if you are telling somebody who comes from a background that has an element of honor culture in it, which some South African and some South Asian and African people do, then they're going to experience being told that they are second-class citizens, that white people have privilege over them, as insulting. It's an insult to their honour. So we will hear from quite socially conservative, often Christian or Muslim Black people, particularly, that they are insulted by this, and they respond quite angrily. But we get more straightforward liberal Black people who just say, I just don't want to be racialized at work, and I don't want to be blamed for these theories which make no sense and are actually racist.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this analysis, you might want to watch the full conversation with Helen Pluckrose. That's linked over here. And I'd also be grateful if you could subscribe to my other channel. That's linked over here. My name is David Ansara. Until next time, take care.